What is going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well today. Thank you all so much for your patience. We were working through some technical difficulties there, but we're finally here, rocking and rolling here with our special guest here, Chuck Coates, wrestling enthusiast for sure. And as you can see, a diehard Tar Heel fan from his wearings. I'm just kidding. No, a diehard Pack fan through and through. Absolutely, with his NC State looks like T-shirt, blanket behind him, wearing NC State
Yeah.
top and down. But I will say I like the wrestling T-shirt, NC State hat, so rocking it. I love it. I love it. Yeah, Chuck. But thank you so much for joining us today, my friend. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Yeah, just bear with me. I've got a little sinus thing going on, but I'm gonna try to make myself loud and clear best I can.
No worries, no worries. Hey, again, it's that allergy season. But for those who are tuning in, make sure to send us your comments. Let us know what Would love to have you a part of the conversation. Would love to have any questions that you want to get answered specifically. We're here for it. Again, we're going to be here just discussing NC State wrestling. I know this is one thing that I really wanted us to focus on because again, I really do believe this is going to be a special season for NC State wrestling.
Yeah.
And it's gotten off to a great start so far. Got a lot of exciting things coming up, obviously, with the first ACC match against Virginia Tech, which will be huge to say the least.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to go ahead and say now that to make plans, I think it's January 20. It's late January. I'll have to actually have it right here. It's January 21st, Friday, January 21st, 7 p.m. at Reynolds Coliseum. So make plans. Go ahead and put it on your calendar and don't miss that because it's going to be a crazy match. And I was even talking to Coach Hall yesterday, Chuck, and he was even telling me that, we need a packed house for that match because this is going to be a huge match for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, let's break that record. We had that record. Carolina, we had 4,400 people in Reynolds Coliseum. I'd like to see us sell it out. I think it's possible. Virginia Tech, Virginia Tech is our Duke, Carolina Duke basketball. Well, Virginia Tech is our, Carolina Duke wrestling. So we're the king of the three-peat champions. We're on top of the, Coach Pop. I can't even say enough about where our program was and where it is now. I went to state in 1985, and wrestling was okay. We had a national champion in '84, Tab Thacker, but to see the growth since then, it just blows me away. Because even back then, we might get a couple hundred people to come gather, to watch wrestling. And being a obviously enthusiast, I just am so happy to see folks get on board and give it a chance, give it a shot. If you don't know anything about it, somebody will help you. I'll sit beside anybody and try to explain what I know about it. But it's a real good therapy for me to watch two athletes, in my opinion, the best athletes in the world, go at it and be a man on man. Weights are same. You go at it. We'll see who's the best. And there's 10 matches each night. From 125 to heavyweight, and every one of them are lights out. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know we've said this as well, even when we actually did our interview with Coach Hall back in, I think it was even March. It was a long time ago that we did an interview. And one thing which I was saying is, I could argue now, I know that this year with state football that, it was intense, but wrestling, especially when it comes down to, and most of the times, actually, I would say the last few times with Virginia Tech, that's usually come down to the last match, winner take it all. And so that is pretty much as tough and as intensive environment, in my opinion, as it almost gets in college sports. Really, it's incredible. So definitely, I would say if anybody hasn't checked out or is listening that hasn't checked out wrestling, reach out to us or whatever it may be. Would love to do whatever it takes to really start to grow the sport and grow the love for NC State wrestling because they truly do deserve it. But you kind of talked about Coach Pop, and this is his 10th season, and he's 126-28, which is unbelievable. 126 and 28 in matches. That's unbelievable. And also led by Coach Adam Hall, which I truly believe is really an X factor for this program. This guy, I think, easily could be a head coach at most major Division I schools, and they would love to have him. So for him to still be here and be, associate head coach with Coach Pop, I think is a huge, building point for this program for sure. And
Yeah.
so definitely love having him here. And then, so kind of jumping in a little bit here, so, and by the way, too, Chuck, Ted Carreras mentioned that you sound like a lot like Chuck the Chestamato with that growly voice.
Hey,
So,
yeah,
so
yeah. My
hey,
favorite guy, man. I love Chuck, man.
so yeah, I'd agree with that. Hey, that's not a hey, that's a compliment in my book, I would say. So, especially for state fans. So, um, but anyway, so jumping in a little bit here in terms of what we've done so far. So up until this point, we've had really 5 major wrestling events where we started with the Citadel Open, the Wolfpack Wrestling Club Open, and then we had 3 matches: one against West Virginia at home, Garner Webb at home, and then at Appalachian State, which I know you went to, Chuck, and it looked like a lot of state fans went to check out, which was awesome to see a sea of red at App State. West Virginia, we won 34-6. Garner Webb, we actually won 45 to -1, which is the first time ever. I think that's a scoregami in my book. Was great there. And then Appalachian State won 25-10. Ted Carrera said undefeated in duels, AC heavyweight champ Chuck the Chest. Well, undefeated in duels so far this year, I think is what you mean, Ted. And if that is, then yes, that is correct. And honestly, obviously, 2 big things which are coming up, and we lost Chuck here for a second, but he'll be coming back in. But one thing which I want to go ahead and say too, for those who are tuning in, I'm sure wrestling fans, is that so on starting on Monday on the 20th, have we're actually competing in the College Wrestling Open. So what basically is going to happen is basically, I think it's like Ohio State, Iowa, Missouri, like pretty much like I think it was like 5 or 6 top 25 teams are actually coming to compete in the Wrestling Open, and then we're actually going against 2 of them to start off with. So it seems like basically a dual playoffs of a sort. So make sure, if you haven't already, make sure to go to NC State's Twitter page, and actually describes how to get it. Basically what you have to do is you have to go to I think it's rickfit.com and sign up through to Wolfpack WC. And then what you could do is you can actually buy the pay-per-view. So in order to watch it, it's basically $20 to watch it. So if you want to get the information, make sure to go to the in-state wrestling page and go check it out on there. So Ted said, 12 teams, 2 pools of 6 divided into 3 pods of 3 each. So basically we're competing in a pod of Missouri and Binghamton. So again, that starts Monday, December 20th at 1 p.m. So make sure to go to NC State's wrestling Twitter page to get all your information on how to check it out. So looks like we got Chuck back. If you can hear us, we'll hear from a second. Rolling in here. Anyway, so looks like Chuck's unfortunately still having some technical issues. But so kind of jumping in a little bit here. So kind of diving in a little bit into the lineup so far. So first starting off with West Virginia, where we had Jacob Camacho, 125, Kyle Ryan at 133, Ryan Jack at 141, Tariq Wilson 149, Ed Scott 157, Thomas Bullard 165, and then the Hodley brothers at 165 and 170, 174 and 184. Isaac Trumbull at 197, and then Isaac Trefon actually at 285. But for the last 2 matches, actually, we actually have seen Deontay Wilson. That's something which I'm definitely interested in getting Chuck's information about whenever he does come back on, is kind of the battle, even within NC State, of who's going to be our main heavyweight guy between Deontay Wilson and Trefon there. But one thing which I'll go ahead and say as well, again, while we're still waiting for Chuck to get in here, is I know there's been some questions about Tariq Wilson. I know he's sat out, of a couple of, I think like a couple of matches in the Wolfpack Open, whatever it may be. I know he actually didn't wrestle at Appalachian State. Fields actually wrestled instead. And from talking to Coach Hall, it sounds like there's no injuries whatsoever. It sounds like just rest there. So nothing really to worry about for Tariq. Um, and then so definitely glad to hear that for sure. And then one of the things too, which I want to say as well is Hadley, Hayden actually specifically. I've actually been really impressed by him. I know that one of the things that we talked about with Mike Macchiavello when we had him on for the wrestling preview was him basically saying that that Hayden actually you can actually probably expect to see actually even a better side of Hayden actually because he's wrestling at his natural weight. So because I wouldn't be surprised too honestly if that was kind of one of the conversation pieces when Popolizio was talking to Hayden about coming back, was that Hayden wanted to compete at his natural weight. So instead of competing down to the 165 area, or 157, 165 area, he wanted to compete more at 174. So I think you've definitely seen that the combination still of speed, but even power as well with Hayden. So definitely been very impressed by him. So make sure again for all those who are still tuning in, and hey Justin, thanks so much for tuning in. Always appreciate the support. But thank you all as well again for tuning in here. Again, we're just kind of doing a DIY here of oh, and there goes my camera. So we're doing great here, but hey, we're still rock and rolling here. But in the meantime, make sure again, if you haven't already, make sure to say hey to us. We'd love to hear your comments, any thoughts, any questions that you have here. Again, just really wanted to discuss the state wrestling and kind of what we have coming up here. And also too, love to hear if anybody was actually at the App State match. Unfortunately I wasn't able to go. But again, it looked like a great in-state crowd there for sure. So that was awesome. So wanted to kind of dive in a little bit into kind of the piece by piece here. So kind of starting off at the 125. So far, Camacho has actually gone undefeated. I think actually getting up to number 5 in the country, going 6-0 in his matches so far. 1-0 in a ranked match, but he's been dominant. And then Kai Ryan, who's actually a redshirt freshman, actually has also gone undefeated, 6-0. And has been truly impressive so far. But I think it's going to be interesting what Pat and Coach Hall does, because obviously we have a very experienced Jared Trombley. There's a redshirt sophomore that's still done well, 6-2 overall. Lost his one match in the duels, but again, so it'll be interesting to see what they decide. But again, it's a great problem that we have. It's a great problem that we're basically having to decide between two great wrestlers at a weight class. So again, we'll definitely see what happens there. And then obviously Ryan Jack, who's a true freshman at the 141 weight class. He's done well again, 10-1, 3-0 in the duels, and has and has had actually 2 major decisions. So again, it's great to see that throughout, and I think throughout this entire lineup, you're seeing a balance of youth, but also experience. Obviously, with guys like Tariq Wilson, who's a graduate student, I guess you could even say like kind of a COVID senior, and then you got guys like Thomas Bullard, Hayden Hiley, that are all experienced. But you got young guys like Ryan Jack, Ed Scott, Isaac Trumbull, who's basically a COVID freshman. Again, it just really shows. And then because even one guy as well, which I'm actually trying to find him here on this screen, but James Joplin as well at the 125 is a guy that has actually gone 11-2, has competed in a lot of matches. Chuck, I see you're there. Are you able to hear us? No, I guess not yet. So anyway, so James Joplin, again, freshman, has gone 11-2 so far this season. So again, it's just really great to see that up and down the board. Really, you're not seeing really anybody that's struggling. And then so Justin wanted to give a shout out to women's basketball. He's going against UVA tomorrow. As a side note, I'll go ahead and say once and for all that I truly did not lose one bit of sleep over the women's basketball loss to Georgia. At the end of the day, unfortunately, Lisa Cunane going into foul trouble early hurt us for sure. But again, these girls going to bounce back. That Westmore is going to get these girls right again, and they'll get right back on page. So won't lose one bit of sleep over it. So make sure you guys don't as well. Ted mentioned about 141. Yeah, I mean, so I know that Hunter Lewis and Ryan Jack's a COVID freshman. Hunter Lewis is a redshirt freshman. Hunter Lewis has gone 12-4. Um, uh, has had two major decisions go his way. Ryan Jack's gone 10-1 on the season. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say it's decided, just like I wouldn't necessarily say that Kyle Ryan and Jared Trombley is decided. I know that Orion started against West Virginia and Gardner Webb, but then App State Trombley actually went in. So again, it's great competition right now, but obviously the biggest thing is going to be when when we go against Virginia Tech. Honestly, what do you see? Because obviously that's really going to be the first match that I'm seeing here on the schedule where we need to have that set in stone. Who is our guy? So let's see here. So here I'm trying to. Sorry guys, I'm trying to make sure Chuck can get in here with us because I'd love to hear his thoughts. So, anyway, so Ted also said State has two and add some weight classes, three quality starter depth, how recruiting. I mean, I would say that basically it's the same issue that you would see with like a Penn State or an Iowa, where they consistently every single year are competing in the top five. So, is it even like you can even look at like women's basketball per se, like you're super deep, but again, people are going to want to come and compete at the highest level because that for us we're there competing every year for a national championship. Now we haven't won one yet, but we've gotten, we've been in the conversation, and again, we've competed against the best. I mean, even the ACC over the last couple of years has gotten better every single year. Virginia Tech's obviously and us are usually our top dogs, but even Carolina's in the top 25. Duke consistently has wrestlers competing for national championships on the individual level. Pitt's gotten better and better each year. Virginia has gotten better and better. So again, AC overall has gotten better, which is great. Again, just really gives some great opportunities for wrestlers that want to come in and compete. So again, I wouldn't necessarily say that it hurts recruiting in terms of that people will look at us and say oh, we're really deep at this weight class, so we don't really need them. No, because then I think that Coach Hall, and even wrestlers in general, they're huge competitors. So, I don't think they're really scared of competition. I don't think they are necessarily people that want to go to a school and be guaranteed the starting position. So, I think that, again, especially working with guys like Coach Hall, but even coming here and you have wrestlers like Michael Machiavello, Tommy Gant, the Gwiz that come to State on a repetitive basis. So you're going to learn from guys that are not only coaches, but guys who have won national championships, like Mock, like the Gwiz. So again, it's still an up and coming program. I mean, again, I really feel like that. Again, we haven't really hit our stride until like the last 4 or 5 years. So we're still we're still rocking and rolling here, but again, so I wouldn't necessarily say that it really hurts recruiting and more helps for sure. He also said, do we see after Tariq graduates some combination of Orion, Trombley, Jack, or Guiza slide up? Possibly, for sure. I mean, I kind of taking a look here. So definitely I see, somebody like a Ryan Jack jumping in there, but even Matt Fields, Hunter Lewis, those are two guys that I know that Machiavello was saying during our preview that he was very impressed with. So again, it's let's put it this way: Popolizio and Adam Hall aren't going to bring anybody on that they don't believe has a true shot of competing and starting in a weight class. So again, I just can't say enough really how an amazing of a job Coach Hall and Popolizio have done, and really building up this team year after year, honestly, of national competition possibilities. I mean, Camacho is a guy that easily can compete for a national title. Obviously, I even called it yesterday to Coach Hall, saying that I think that Trent Hodley and Hayden Hodley are going to be the first brothers that to win a national title during the same year. I truly think that's a possibility. I mean, Trent is has been dominant, and Hayden again is still doing his thing. Um, and so again, I'm surprised about one bit. And even Isaac Trumbull, I mean, he's gone 8-0, has been super impressive. He was impressive last year, had a couple of pins, and but made some freshman mistakes, so which I think that he's learned from, has done better. Um, so yeah, I mean, again, I'm optimistic for sure. Again, still about the season. So here we're gonna check in with Chuck here, see if you can hear us. Chuck, can you hear us at all? Nope, not yet. All right, well, we'll check back in with Chuck here in a second. But in the meantime, but the one weight class too, which I'm actually the most interested in, is Owen Trifon, the redshirt freshman, and Deontay Wilson. That weight class is honestly the most interesting to me because, again, I mean, I think that Deontay, and one thing which we said during the preview with Machiavello is I think with Deontay, he's the definition of consistent. He's a guy that will consistently beat who you expect him to beat, and then but isn't necessarily the most aggressive wrestler. Now, I think this season, I think even Machiavello too even challenged him, saying, I want you to be more aggressive. Go be more aggressive. Go after the leg. Go for falls. Be a little bit more aggressive here. But because I mean, even a guy like Owen Trayvon, he's been impressive. Has shown signs of life. So, and again, I think it's great to see that we have some competition at the heavyweight. Because I think honestly, even thinking back to the Gwiz, I mean, it was pretty dominant that we had one guy that typically started for us, but to have two guys that could compete week in and week out at the heavyweight level is a great thing to have. Again, and again, if you're not really understanding, basically it's a little redundant, hearing that we're so competitive, and deep at every single weight class. So it's a great thing to see. So here we're gonna um, check in with Chuck here in a little bit, but anyway, make sure again if you guys have any questions or thoughts, whatever it may be, love to hear from y'all. And yeah, so let's see here. So in the meantime, so Ted also said that yes, if State ever establishes a recruiting footprint west of the Mississippi, look the heck out. And yeah, so again, and we actually kind of talked a little bit about this with Coach Hall, and really, it's great to see that that really we're all over. I know that guys like the Hadley brothers are from the Northeast, if I'm not mistaken, and so is Trumbull as well. So, it seems like we definitely have a footprint up in the Northeast. But even locally as well, you look at like high schools, like Cary High School, that's pretty dominant year after year and has a great high school wrestling program. Again, it's the possibilities are endless for sure. Definitely excited about the future for sure for French State wrestling, but especially again even for this year. But I truly do believe again. I mean, Popolizio, he's still only in his 40s, if I'm not mistaken. He's a very young coach, and so I mean he's going to be here for quite some time, and so it's and that's why I kind of give a huge hats off to Debbie Yao, because I think that she did a great job of not only hiring coaches that have a lot of optimism to them, but also to have are young, are people that that can be here for 20, at least 20 years if they want to. And because even Popolizio has said, and actually it was kind of funny, I still remember when we were kind of taking off a little bit here, that we were actually somebody actually reached out basically saying, please Pop, don't go anywhere, are you going to leave for one of the big schools, if an opportunity comes up? And he pretty much said, no, we are, we're from, I mean, like we are one of the heavyweights in in NCAA wrestling now. So again, it's good to see that obviously he's committed to us. I think he loves the Raleigh area. So again, it's exciting. So one thing I wanted to plug in here as well is obviously we're in the progress. One things that we actually put out was talking about doing a live stream during games or during matches. And that's something we're actually in the process with. It was very evident. I think 90% of people said they would be interested in joining us for one of those. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to do kind of set up as like a watch party. So basically just keep in touch with us. Make sure to follow us at Tuffy Talk now if you haven't already. And again, we have plans. We're still working on all the details. Make sure again just to follow us. And again, we are working on that. So yeah, I'm going to check in with Chuck here, see if he can hear us. Chuck, can you hear us? Can you hear me? He can hear me, but I can't hear him. So make sure, Chuck, if you haven't already, make sure just to click on the settings and go to audio and make sure that your input's set to the right one. But we'll come back to you here in 1 second. So yeah, Justin, definitely excited for the watch party. I think it's something that fans would love to have, and because one thing I will say is I think that in the live stream, it actually or in the question that I promoted, basically saying would people enjoy watching the game with us, and so unfortunately we can't actually have the game on our live stream because of I think it's DMCA rights or basically copyright laws. So basically what we're going to do is we're whoever's on from the Tuffy Talk side and possibly a guest as well will basically be watching it separately together, and then that way you guys can watch on your own as well, but have us pulled up in the meantime, and then basically you guys can see our reactions, hear our reactions. You guys can react along with us, send us any comments or thoughts or questions during the game, whatever it is. And again, and also too, because one of the ideas I love about it as well is the possibility basically after the games, basically putting together almost like a highlight reel of like the best reactions. So definitely excited about that. So here, let's check in on Chuck now, see if you can hear us, Chuck. All right, we got you.
Any
What's up,
better?
Chuck?
You know,
Yes.
man, I am so sorry. My phone battery died on my phone, which I don't know why, but my
Yeah.
wife came to the rescue. I'm using her thing from work, so
Oh,
I apologize for the past 20 minutes, but I'm
no
back,
worries.
hopefully for
No
good.
worries. No, perfect, awesome. Glad to have you back. Yeah, no, it's again. I mean, there's no doubt that I definitely I'm a huge wrestling fan and have knowledge, but I'm not overly knowledgeable. So, which why I was glad to have you back on, Chuck, so you can kind of help me out here a little bit and kind of fill in a little bit of the holes. So yeah, so we were. I was kind of diving into kind of talking about the depth at the weight classes, and because
Yeah,
obviously, like you see, like for example, at 133, you got Kyle Ryan and Jarrett Trombley, both at the 133
yeah.
weight class that have both seen action this year. Jarrett Trombley is the guy that's the most experienced, but Kyle Ryan is somebody that I think has been very impressive to the coaching staff so far. So, but I mean, so first of all, at that weight class, do you see them making a decision, or do you see them as maybe splitting time from match to match?
Right now, I think they're splitting time. I think I may have missed this, but I think Tariq wanted to take take App State off,
Mm-hmm.
which I was looking forward to seeing that. That kid is number 7 in the country for App
Mm-hmm.
State, and he ended up wrestling Matt Fields, which Matt's an excellent wrestler. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's all I've heard. Tariq's not injured. I just think he took
Yeah.
the night off, and
Yeah.
super seniors say they've earned that right. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, when they come back, to me, that's just an added bonus for us wrestling fans because they didn't have to. And all but one came back from last year.
Yep.
So we're getting an extra treat as wrestling. It's kind of like overtime in football. You get extra football. But
Sure.
as wrestlers, when they come back and being the season is, fairly short for wrestling, which is obviously, it's not like basketball where you play every 3 or 4 days. Any chance you get to see these guys perform has been, I mean, it speaks for itself. Look at their uh, every ranking you look at, we've got somebody ranked.
Mm-hmm.
The veterans are ranked in the top 20, top 25. The
Yep.
new kids coming in, uh, they're gonna. Yeah, it's a learning process. I mean, when Hayden got here, Hayden was a rare. Uh, it's one of those things. He came in with his guns blazing, but most everybody has to, learn as you go, and as you get older, as you get more mature, as you learn the college level of wrestling, you you improve. If you look at everybody's record when they first get to college, they got some losses most of the time, but by the time they get to the big stage and when they make it to All American status, you can look how much in 4 years how much they've learned
Mm-hmm.
going from high school to college. Because you know this, you can be all everything in high school. You can be um, multiple state champion, this and that. But when you get to college, it's a whole different level. I mean, the playing field's pretty much even. And
Mm-hmm.
so, um, and I don't know if you talked about our recruiting class for 2022.
Mm-hmm.
Have you talked about that yet?
Not
Or I missed
specifically,
that
but
one.
I have said. I mean, one of the things which I was because Ted actually was basically asking, like, since we are so deep and so talented at every
Yeah,
weight class, basically, does that hurt recruiting? And I pretty much said that. I mean, I would honestly say that wrestlers are some of the most competitive people I know, and so I think that,
yeah,
like, even because like in Iowa, Penn State, that they year after year have guys that are some of the top wrestlers in the country that come and compete, because then they want to compete
yeah,
for a national championship, and
right.
individually and as a team, but also to work with guys. And because that was one of the things I said as well, the in-state I think has done a great job of is used guys like
Yeah,
Michael Machiavello, use guys like the Gwiz, like
yeah,
Tommy Gant to come back and be around these guys and train them, teach them, just teach them,
right.
basically what it takes to win a national championship on the individual level, and that'll help,
Yeah.
eventually as a team to win a national championship. So that was the one thing which I did say about about the recruiting
Well,
from the recruiting side.
well, I pointed at Virginia Tech this past February in
Mm-hmm.
Blacksburg. I was there, and I really become fairly good friends with the Hodley's parents, and we sat with them and picked their brain. And I asked Nikki, their mother, what made Trent and Hayden pick state
Mm-hmm.
when they with academics and with wrestling, they could have went anywhere in the country. And she said Hayden was recruited by Iowa, Penn State, Lehigh, all these great schools, wrestling schools, but he
Mm-hmm.
wanted to wrestle. He wanted to come in. He didn't want to sit behind nobody. So you flip the coin on that deal, and when you see what Coach Pop's doing at State, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
kid who's going to, I think of Dylan Fishback coming in next year, a kid that could have went to the Iowa's, Penn States, Oklahoma States, which is fine, but they come here to Raleigh, they see where we are, and it's a good chance if you're at that level, you're going to probably start. And so
Mm-hmm.
Hayden chose to come to State, and I don't need to say anything else about it. That was what 5 years ago, and so uh, some of these great athletes that are recruited by the heavyweights, we're heavyweight, like you said, we're heavyweight now.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the top five, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not like a flash in the pan. We've been in a top five, top 10 team now for what 6 years straight,
Yeah,
and uh, it's we're for real. It's not. This is
it's not a
I've always
fluke.
said whatever Coach Pop wants, I'd give it to him because we need to keep him happy. I hope he likes it here. I really,
Yeah.
uh, I just think he needs to be. He deserves the respect and the uh, everything else that comes with the Kyle Sanders and the John Smiths. I mean, I think he's that good. And I think eventually, hopefully, many years from now, when he retires, that he's still wearing the red and white because we really, really love having him here.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no. Again, I mean, there's no doubt, and because I know that, especially with Boo, there's been a lot of talks of basically them focusing a lot on men's basketball and football, and I know one of the reasons why we created Tuffy Talk, and like there's a couple of reasons why, but one of them is really to share light into sports beyond just men's basketball and football, which obviously are the two heavyweights, and for most athletic programs. Because again, there's really so
Yeah,
much here in NC State to be excited about. Because the one thing which I would argue of why I believe it's better to have a great athletic program than necessarily to have a great football team or a great men's basketball team is that every single day when you wake up, for the most part, besides, maybe like a month or so in the summer where there's just a dead period, nothing going on. But as long as there's college sports going on, there's some there's some team out there for NC State that is competing in the ACC, is competing nationally, and is competing at the top of its field. And it's really a thing I love. Again, right now we're excited about wrestling. We're excited about, hey, gymnastics is preseason number 21 in the country. And then you got, women's basketball obviously is doing their thing. So again, there's really so many. And again, you still got football. You're still talking about football, for the rest of the season and next season. So I love this feeling right now. Basically, men's basketball struggled last night, which is unfortunate. But one of the things I said right after is, again, I truly believe as a State fan that the saying of "it's a great day to be NC State fan" applies every single day, because there's always something good going on, and I would
Right.
still say with men's basketball, I know it was unfortunate last night that we struggled, didn't look well at all last night, no doubt about it. But again, there's still a lot to look forward to, obviously, with Robert Dillingham, which I know, again, that's not until 2023, but there's a lot to look forward to. But again, even wrestling, again, there's so much good going on. So yeah, I definitely would say would highly push to anybody here that deals with the Wolfpack Club or even Boo himself, whatever it is, that we got to invest in all these guys. We got to invest in every single
Yeah.
program, because they all deserve respect. They all deserve everything. Because again, pretty much every single program, even women's tennis, made it to the Final Four last year. That's
Right.
unbelievable.
Yeah. It's
So,
part of being Wolfpack through and through. I mean, our friends down the road here, a lot of them are one sport fans, and Wolfpack Nation is not like that.
no.
Um, we show out. We had over 2,000 people show up to greet the baseball team when they came back from
Mm-hmm.
their national World Series championship. But
Yeah.
that's just what Wolfpack Nation's all about. And to see that Coliseum full on the 21st of January would be, just think about it. Well, like I said, I made a tweet about, if you haven't experienced it, if just give it a chance, give it a try, and I don't think you'll be disappointed, because state wrestling is on its way. It's already there. It's just, up there. It's just we're still growing and climbing. I saw where Iowa, and everybody knows Iowa, the history, Iowa wrestling. They had 11,000 advanced season ticket sales. That's pretty
Unbelievable.
awesome. I think we are there. I think eventually, I really believe this, Reynolds ain't going to be big enough. I really believe that. If we keep
Yep.
doing what we're doing, keep supporting Coach Pop and the staff, Coach Hall,
Mm-hmm.
Coach Jack, all the guys that are uh, putting all this work and effort into recruiting these kids, I really do. I believe NC State wrestling will be in year out. Just I'd love to be known as a wrestling school. I just because I personally, for me, I've been around it most of my life, and so I'm a little bit biased, but the work and the effort these kids put in, the training, uh, cutting weight,
Unbelievable.
and all that comes with it. There's no off season.
Mm-mm.
There's no off season. It's you against your opponent. You've got to go out there. Basically, you got a kid your weight. He comes in. We have wrestle offs in. We've been doing them lately at the football games early on.
Mm-hmm.
This year we did it before the Clemson game, I think. And it's
Mm-mm.
you against him. It's really an easy decision. Who
Yeah.
wins? They get to start. It ain't like football where you say, well, I'm going to evaluate this situation and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's on the mat. Go out there and win. If you want to wrestle, go out there and beat your opponent, whether it's in practice or whether it's in front of 5,000 people. And
Yep.
so it's just the way it
Yeah.
is. That's the unique opportunities about what wrestling provides and what it gives.
Mm-hmm.
It's just no other. You
Yeah.
can't go to the restroom and you can't go buy a drink, because the next thing you know, you missed a pinfall or you missed a some kind of move that you hadn't. It's just. I
Mm-hmm.
left last year. We were wrestling Princeton. I literally went to the restroom, and before I got back, Jared Trombley had pinned his opponent. I told my wife, "So what happened?" She goes, he picked him up, slammed him, and pinned him. I missed it. I mean, that's how exciting it is. You can't blink because it's a sport like no other.
It is. You're not wrong. Now, the one thing which I will say, I fully respect, for sure having, eventually calling this maybe a wrestling school, but I think Justin Cook, being a diehard baseball fan would say probably maybe being a
Yeah.
baseball school, but again,
Hey, I'm fine
it's
with that.
hey, it's a beautiful thing that we have that freedom to talk about so many sports and
Yeah.
again and support so many of them. So that's for sure. But the one thing which I did want to talk about for sure, because this is actually one specific wrestler that I wanted to kind of discuss with you on, and that's Thomas Bullard. And
Yeah.
specifically, because I mean, this is a guy that I truly do believe, because his brother Daniel Bullard, he won the AC title last year, was All American, and he decided to go out on top, which I completely respect and understand. And so Thomas though came back, I think, with the mission of matching his brother, of getting an AC title under his belt as a graduate, and obviously started off the year well. I mean, won 4 straight matches in a row. But then against West Virginia, he lost 6-3, and then against App State, he lost 6-1. Now, again, that was against number 16 and number 26 wrestler in the country at the time. But I know, I actually, even talking into Coach Hall a little bit as well, that they've definitely have put pressure, because I mean they definitely expect better. I mean, again, from a guy especially as Bullard, that I could argue, even still is one of the greatest writers in the country. And basically, for those who aren't sure, who don't know what that is, basically that means that if you have control of him, you're basically on top of him, basically riding him out. Because basically, if there is any point where the other wrestler is able to get free and you're not controlling him anymore, then basically they get an escape point. So Thomas Bullard is one of the best, in my opinion, basically riding and holding on to that control. In my opinion, he's one of the best at it. So, do you see any reason at all to worry with Thomas? I mean, for me, I'm not really sure what's going on, but I mean, I feel like he's an experienced enough and a talented enough wrestler, and he's got great enough resources around him and Pop and Hall to bounce back out of this.
Yeah, I think it starts right here.
Yeah.
It starts right here.
Hmm.
Um, we've already seen what he can do, and uh, you know, I think every wrestler goes through that. You actually get, um, I don't know, it's a mental thing, and you get out there and you've got to just refocus, and you got to get out there and you practice and pre-match and everything you do to prepare yourself. He's got to just look at himself and say, "Hey, I can do this." And he's got to believe. But I think 90% of it's right here because Thomas has proven what he can do, what he can be. You know,
Hmm.
like you said, he's
Absolutely.
one of the best wrestlers I've ever seen that works the top. I mean, how many matches has there been where uh, a kid from the other team will pick neutral because he knows if he tries to get that escape point,
Hmm.
Thomas, it's not easy. It's not
It's not
easy.
good.
So they'll
Yeah,
pick
it's not
neutral
worth
and
it.
they try to get the takedown. Yeah, I've seen it happen many times. Those Bullards are something else, and it's the way they wrap those legs in. They get
Hmm.
control and they make you work for it.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but I do believe it's a mental thing. Thomas has got nothing but respect for him, and I believe
Hmm.
things will get better as he goes. Um, and it's just the way it goes. I think Hayden went through that a little bit last year
Hmm.
um, during the
Yes, he did.
tournament. They actually set the NCAA's, and we know we've already seen the capabilities of these young men. And once they get that figured out, whatever that might be, they can focus on getting better and doing what they do best, and
Yep.
that's win matches and win hopefully championships.
Yep. And also too, Chuck, one thing is I've had some topics I was excited to talk to you about. So I'm hoping that since we weren't able to get you on the first 20 minutes, so that we can kind of go a little bit longer, and I'm sure even the fans wouldn't mind that as well. But I would love to kind of make sure to discuss all these wrestlers with you, if you don't mind. Just want to make sure you don't
Yeah,
have anywhere to be. So cool. So you mentioned Hayden. So one thing which I wanted to discuss about Hayden, and I think we talked about this during the wrestling preview with Machiavello as well, is with Hayden, it's a frustrating thing for me because, in my opinion, I mean, again, he's a 4-time ACC champion. He could be one of the first, again, I'd have to go back and check, but I'm sure if there hasn't been maybe more than one. It being one of the first, if not maybe only second ever,
He
five
he is
time,
he is the first.
five
Yeah,
time. He could be the first ever 5-time ACC champion. Okay, yeah. So I
I
mean,
believe
that's
he's. I believe he's. Yeah, I believe he's the first time, 4 time. I believe he is.
really, really wow.
Yes, I do
Okay,
believe so.
wow. Yeah. So I mean, again, I mean, because I mean, pretty much again, Lord willing that we don't ever have to go through a situation like COVID again. But I mean,
Yeah,
that's pretty much never going to be. Let's put it this way: it'd be very tough to do to be a 5-time ACC winner while redshirting a year. That's pretty much not really a thing. I don't even really think that's possible. But hey, if it were, it'd be very difficult. But hey, Hayden's got a great opportunity. But also too that I mean, Hayden's a guy that's gotten to the NCAA championships twice and has fallen short both times. But again, I mean, to me, he is one of the most dominant wrestlers I've ever seen. Like, my father, like, he's not a huge college wrestling fan, but from literally the first time I brought him to a match, I think it was back in 2019, he locked eyes on Hayden. He was like, whoa, that dude is
yeah,
so fun to watch. That dude is so like he just takes over. But I think that, last year, like you were saying, there was just kind of like times where he just wasn't really dominating like he usually would, especially earlier in his career. So, but I think honestly, one of the biggest things that probably is going to help, honestly, is him now really competing at his natural weight. Because Machiavelli was even saying as
right.
well that like when you're having to worry about cutting weight like he was, it can kind of take a lot
Yeah,
of energy out of you, a lot of, because you're not have, because you're having to focus not only on getting yourself ready, but also to your weight as well. While with
yeah,
Hidlay, you don't have to worry about that. So you got a lot more
yeah,
energy. You got a little bit more muscle on you now. And so it's a whole lot better. So I mean, do you think maybe that him competing now at the 174 weight kind of will maybe help him take that next step?
yeah. He actually said this past year, I think during a podcast I heard that summertime when everybody's out of school and he's at the beach, he's about 178. So cutting 4 pounds is nothing compared to cutting 20 pounds, you know. So I do believe that you're going to see a different level of Hayden Hodley. We're going to find out in 21st because he's going to wrestle a former national champion,
Hmm.
Makai Lewis from Virginia Tech, which moved up from 165 to 174.
And
So
that might be the individual match of the year. Honestly, Makai Lewis
it
versus
may
Hayden
be,
Hadley. That's unbelievable.
yeah. And Makai had an injury last year that kept him. Actually, I think, yeah, he got injured in the ACC tournament, which he had to withdraw. But he has come back with a vengeance. I watched him against Missouri, and he was pretty impressive. So that's going to be a challenge. But there's never been a challenge the Hadley boys can't. They're not. They're never afraid to accept the
Yeah,
biggest and baddest and best. And so, which
yeah,
that right there will be worth the price of admission, not including the rest of the amazing matches that night.
yeah.
But back to your question, yeah, I believe with Hayden moving up, it's like you said, the stress of having to cut weight. He can spend. He said something about I can spend that extra time, you know, cardio, or I can spend that extra time, you know, working on new things. And I think he and Trent are closer to weight, so they're able to work together more. They wrestle each other more in practice. They're
Hmm.
able to, yeah, being a few pounds difference. It makes a big deal. It's a big deal when you're trying to accomplish something. You know, if you're throwing around a guy that's 20 pounds lighter than you, it's not quite as you might not get, you get to the match and the guy's your weight and it's not going to work. But him being closer to Trent's weight, they're able to train together, work out together, and wrestle together, which
Hmm.
will make him even better because I don't need to. Don't let me get started on Trent Hodley. He's at a different level. He is like, I, he is so focused and so
Hmm.
ready. And
Yep. Yep.
uh, who was it you said? They said they saw Hayden Hodley and they thought, wow. Well, that's how
My
I
my
felt about
father,
Trent this year.
my father.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, was that West Virginia where he about snapped the guy's head off? That headlock takeover?
probably. Well,
And he pinned? Yeah.
now one moment which was super impressive that I remember is it was at Duke. um, 4 years ago. I think it was his freshman year, and it was impressive on Hayden's side, but it was also impressive on the Duke side. Basically, what happened is I think it was like a minute and a half into the first period, and Hayden got a I can't remember if it was a cradle on him, but basically had his arm wrapped around his neck. So basically, the guy's head was basically here, and he had him like pinned on the ground, and literally Duke guy was just pushing to keep his shoulder blades off the
Yeah.
mat, and literally he got out of it, and it was the most impressive thing I've seen, because first of all, I mean, for Hayden's side, I was like, wow, like, it was amazing to how he got him there, to that position. But also too, it was impressive for the Duke side to find his way out of that. Cause I mean, I can't
Yeah.
even imagine like the guy just squeezing your neck like no other and putting his full weight on
Right.
you. And you're just like stretching, keeping your shoulder blades out of it for over, like, I think it was like close to a minute. It was crazy. It was the most
Yeah.
craziest thing I've ever seen. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was the
And
moment
if
that
you
still stands out to
watch,
me.
if usually in wrestling, people that aren't really familiar, a lot of you people listening know that wrestling is it's so much more than just two guys out there wrestling. They don't understand. Some folks don't understand the physical fitness and the agility these kids have, because you get to that third period and you've been going hard, your
Hmm.
legs get tired. You can see some guys start to, you know, especially if it goes in overtime. I mean, it's like who's in the best shape, who's in the best shape. That's who's going to win this thing. And
Yep.
sometimes it's not necessarily the best wrestler. You got to be in shape and you got to bust it every day to be the
Hmm.
best. And
Yep.
that's conditioning is so important. And if it, it, it's just amazing, and I'll keep saying it over and over. It's amazing the caliber athlete that we have here at state and all across wrestling is just like no other.
It is.
And not not you know I don't want to discount any other sport. They're all great athletes, but wrestling is on a different level. And these kids
Yeah,
are just amazing, and I
they
love
are.
watching it. I love being there. Being there is so much better than watching it on a live stream, which is good. But
Yeah,
um, I was at the App
not the
State
same.
duel, and they were passionate, they were wild, and they even were a little bit obnoxious. But that makes the sport
It
wall
does.
to wall. They had 2,000 people. They reported 2,000 people there, and 500 of them were red. So I love it. We travel well. We love our pack,
Hmm.
and we're heading down to
Absolutely.
Florida today. They're actually leaving. They're on the way to Florida, Niceville, Florida, for the college wrestling duels.
Hmm.
So that'll be Monday and Tuesday, and we wrestle
Yep.
Binghamton and
Missouri.
Missouri, which is number 10 in the country, and then we possibly wrestle Iowa on Tuesday. So
That'd be huge.
I would consider getting that if you can. It's on Rockfin live stream, ten
Rockfin.
bucks, man. Best $10 you'll spend. So
Well,
we're not
and
afraid to jump on the big boys, and we're doing
no,
it.
absolutely. But yeah, so again, so make sure if again, so everything that Chuck was talking about, make sure to go to State Wrestling Twitter page, and you sign up for Rockfin, which again is like
Yeah,
$9.99 a month, but you can cancel it anytime, and then you have to pay $10 for the pay-per-view. So basically it's $19.99 in total to watch it. But again,
yeah,
you can hold on to it. And one thing to keep in mind as well is is that actually if you go to the Twitter page, you'll actually sign up through the Wolfpack WC Wrestling Club page, and so basically if I'm not mistaken,
yeah,
they get a cut of the sales, so it's going to a great cause as
yeah,
well. So just keep that in
yeah,
mind, and go check them out. Huge matches coming up, so make sure to go check that out. But
yeah,
obviously with Hayden, he's had a great start so far, winning by technical fall 19-3 against West Virginia, and then winning 14-4 by major decision against App State. And then Trent started off actually won by pinfall only 22 seconds into the match against West Virginia, and then Garner Webb won 21-5 by technical fall, and then App State 12-4 in a major decision. So again, I mean, and I told the viewers this earlier, and I'll tell you this again too, Chuck, as well. But I pretty much made my wager with Coach Hall, saying that I believe that the Hayden brothers, will be the first, probably one of the first brothers to win a national championship the same year. I truly believe that they're both going to
oh yeah,
achieve that during the same year, which would be unbelievable because they're both their first national championships in the individual level. But
yeah,
one guy that Ted actually brought up that I actually wanted to kind of discuss about was Nick Reenan. And this is a guy
yeah.
That's a graduate student that has, I mean, wrestled for State for quite some time. He's competed at the in the AC titles for us. He's been All American. And I mean, he's done well. Again, he competed in the Wolfpack Wrestling Open and actually won first place in the 184 weight class, going 5-0, and actually beating number 17 Caleb Hopkins from Campbell 10-3 actually. So has been impressive, but obviously, fortunately slash unfortunately, we got two really great studs in Trent Hodley and Isaac Trumbull as well. That, I mean, I think from Coach Hall and Pat's perspective, it's tough to keep them both off of the mat because they are really just dominant. I mean, they truly will probably leave NC State with a national championship individually under their belts, in my opinion. So, I mean, do you see Nick getting into the conversation at all for the maybe be competing with Isaac for the 197 weight class?
Well, in my honest opinion, I think when Nick injured his knee 2 years ago, his leg, I don't know if he ever recovered fully. He still wears a leg brace and such, but it
Mm-hmm.
actually that was in 2019, I believe, and
Mm-hmm.
he he's been dealing with that issue. I asked him at the wrestle offs. I said, "How's that knee?" He said, "We're getting ready to find out." So, and it held
Mm-hmm.
up well, but uh, I think it was more than just scrape on the arm, if you will. I think it actually affected him. Uh, and as far as him competing, I don't know. Isaac's looking pretty good, and
He is.
he's he came he came he came in one of those that came in with his guns blazing, like I said earlier, and
Yes, he did.
uh, I think Nick will get some time. I think you'll see some time. I think it'll be, we've got uh, we don't have any given opponents. Everybody's from here on out is going to be solid. Maybe
Yeah.
uh, not disrespecting Duke, but I don't know what their 197 looks like. Or
Well,
uh,
so you
Virginia's
got
good
so
this
it
year,
looks
but
like
yeah,
it looks like we got the wrestling duels on Monday slash Tuesday, and
yeah,
then we have the Southern Scuffle, which is on New Year's Day and January 2nd, which is in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And then we have Ryder. It looks like we're going against Ryder and Princeton. We're doing kind of like a little New
yeah,
Jersey round a little bit, competing against Ryder and Princeton, and then we come back to compete against Virginia Tech. So Princeton is a solid program, and so is Ryder as well. I mean, both solid wrestling programs that we've competed against before, but I don't necessarily see them as being contenders of necessarily beating us from the team level. But they definitely could have some guys
right,
individually that could compete against us as well. So
yeah,
that's my initial thoughts. So. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, no, definitely will be interesting to see and kind of what happens. But like, again, I mean, Isaac Trumbull, he's been just so dominant. 8-0 so far in matches this season. Has won by fall twice, has won by technical fall. Looks like twice as well. Major decision 4 times. So yeah, I mean, so like there was really only been one time this season where he did not win by at least a major decision. So it's going to be tough to keep him off. And again, you're not going to keep Trent Hadley off the mat either. So unfortunately, I would say it's unlikely, barring injury, knock on wood, that we would need him to jump in. But I mean, it's kind of like with with, like, I would say this year with football. That, I mean, that like, God forbid, if Leary had gone down, knock on wood, that we got a guy like Ben Finley that we feel very confident that could jump in there. It's not like that we're like, if Leary goes down, it's like, oh my gosh, like, it's over. Like, again, we got a great guy in Ben Finley that we were very excited about. So hey, worst comes to worst, knock on wood, again, I already did that. If it does happen, got a great wrestler like Nick Ryan that is
yeah,
talented and experienced that could easily jump in there and compete at the AC and national level. But wanted to kind of jump into now kind of a little bit of the heavyweight. Because this is definitely one weight class I even said while you were gone that I'm the most interested about, because I know from
yeah,
talking to Machiavello that he was that I was saying that Deontay Wilson, to me, I would describe as a very conservative wrestler, for the most part. And when I say that, I'm saying that he's very technically efficient, but he's not necessarily the go getter like the Gwiz was. Like Gwiz, he was. I mean, like he like if he knows that he has you, he's going after you, you
Yeah,
know. And I think with Deontay,
right.
he's not necessarily that guy. But I know that Machiavelli actually even said it here, you know, on the preview, saying, you know, for Deontay Wilson, if you're listening, I would like you to be more aggressive. But you know, you got a guy like Owen Trayvon as well that has been impressive. You know, for being a redshirt freshman to come in. Has definitely shown signs of optimism for sure. So do you have any kind of initial thoughts and about the competition at the heavyweight level?
Yeah, I agree 100%. Deontay's always been, uh, I guess the word conservative would work. He kind of feels his opponent out as the match goes. He
Yeah.
always seems to turn it up in the third. He's not a go, one of these that's going to shoot on you right away. He's going to
Hmm.
be in a heavyweight. He's kind of waiting for you to come to him in a way. But I'm telling you what, once he's on, he's on. And that's just his
Yeah.
strategy. I haven't seen much of a change the time he's been in state. I think he's pretty much just the way he is. And with Owen pushing him, I think Owen's got to start a couple and Deontay's got to start a couple. I think what's happened is making Deontay more hungry. I think it's making him realize, hey, nothing's going to be given to me. I got to earn it. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, you're not ranked in the top 20 by accident. So,
Right.
I really believe the fact that he's got somebody that's on his heels pushing him and has
Hmm.
even started over him a couple times, that's
Yeah.
just going to benefit when the conference starts.
I
It's going to
agree.
have him ready, and it goes back to this. You gotta have that mind right. You can work out and train. You can be in the best shape ever, but you got to be right here. If you see these wrestlers, they've each got their own pre-match routines. Whether it's listening to music, whether it's focusing on everything, dropping everything, not focusing on anything but yourself and what you got to do. Whether it's
Yep.
staying in the locker room until it's time to come out. I mean, everybody's got their own
Yep.
way of preparing,
Yep.
and I mean that look, that stone cold look, if you will. You see some of these kids, you can't. They're getting right. They're getting their mind right, and that's part of it. And once like I said, Owen's competition has done nothing but help Deontay. So
Yep.
uh, I think we're going to see Deontay from here on. I do believe that, but he knows that he can't. There really ain't much room for error. There's not because Owen's right there. If he needs to step in, he will. So
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I agree with you. At the end of the day, I mean, Deontay has been a guy that we have relied on and has come through for us multiple times over the last couple of years. So it would have been very
yeah,
tough to put him on the bench over Owen. But you know, unless he just came out just guns a blazing, which he's done well, but hasn't necessarily been like come off as like, oh whoa, like this guy
yeah,
but going to be a national title winner for us, like necessarily. But I mean, and actually, Ted actually mentioned as well that both VT and Pitt both have top 15 wrestlers that I think will be challenges that we definitely expect Deontay to at least hold his own, if not
yeah,
possibly squeak out a victory against one of those as well. So we'll see what happens with those. But one guy as well that I've well, actually, I guess I'll kind of throw two guys in is Ryan Jack, younger brother of Kevin Jack, former All American ACC
yes,
winner, who has been super impressive, and then Ed Scott. Both guys have, I mean,
yes,
have
very
have
much.
have established themselves. Ryan Jack at the 141 weight class, and then Ed Scott at the 157 weight class. They have, I mean, been winners. Ryan Jack has only lost one match, and that was against Carolina, 3-1 match, very low scoring. But other than that, he's gone 10-1, and then for Ed Scott. If I pull up my notes here, he has only lost one match as well, but that was actually against another NC State wrestler, in AJ Kovacs, 9-8 actually, so very close. But I mean, other than that, I mean, for Ed Scott, he's won all three dual matches by at least a major decision. And then for Ryan Jack, he's actually has won by just a decision every single time, but he's won 8-7, 5-3, and 10-3. So I mean, I kind of talked about this too while you were gone, but I love that throughout this roster you see a balance of not only experienced guys but youth as well, because like guys like Ed Scott and um, Ryan Jack. I mean, they're guys kind of like Hayden Hidley. They're going to jump right in, fresh out of being a freshman, and probably be our starters for for the next 3-4 years. Which is awesome. It's
Yeah.
a great thing to see. So what has impressed you most? In your opinion, Chuck, about Ed and Ryan from seeing these guys wrestle in person.
Well, Ed, during the off season, he won a tournament. I believe it was down. I want to say it was down towards. Well, I can't remember. I want to say Puerto Rico, or I mean, it was somewhere out of the country, and he
Mm-hmm.
won a tournament. And right then, I thought, wow, uh, Ed means business. So I've actually
Yeah.
talked to his dad as well. He said he's worked so hard from last year to this year,
Mm-hmm.
and they were so eager to get back in front of people. And I think a lot of these kids, they feed off of us as fans, passionate fans who love wrestling and love to support them. So,
Yep.
even Coach Pop said, it's so good to be back home and it's so good to have people in the building. And
Yes.
so Ed has just put in the work. And like I said earlier, a lot of them come in and they they'll get a loss here and there, and they might even have a losing streak at times. But each
Yep.
year you look back and you got to get better. You've got to, by the time you're a senior, you've got to look back and say, okay, look where I've come from. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's part of Ed's wrestling story is each season getting better.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited about the 157 class. I'm excited about what he's bringing to the table this year. And
Yeah.
I'm expecting him to win his weight class in the con. I know that Austin O'Connor's in there. That's fine. National champion at UNC. That's fine. But I believe
Yeah.
in Ed Scott. I
Yeah.
really do. And
I love it.
O'Connor's already dropped one this year. So uh, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Just because you won that championship, that's wonderful. That's great for you. But that don't mean
Yep.
the next year's next year. And I just look for big things out of Ed
Yep.
and Ryan as well. And Ryan's got Kevin on the coaching staff, so
Mm-hmm.
I've got a little brother, and I'm sure even though Kevin's graduated, I know that he's wanting to impress his brother. That has a lot, seeing your brother over there, somebody you wrestled and fought with all those years at
Mm-hmm.
home, you want to make him proud. And I know Ryan's got that incentive there to work his butt off to be the best he can be. And it does say something. If your brother's, I mean, to
Yep.
me, it does.
Absolutely.
I'd want to impress my brother, So that's got a little bit of personal zing to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, we can go on and on and on. And I'm just excited
Yeah.
about
No.
next month. I'm excited about Monday. I'm excited about everything going on in Raleigh, and
Absolutely.
can't wait.
Well, and first of all, I think you said it perfectly for me, for Ed and Ryan. Definitely excited about the future for both of them. But even as well, looking at one specific weight class, I'm actually the most excited about, and that's honestly the 125 weight class. I mean, because
Oh yeah,
first, because you have three guys, and actually one point I want to make as well, that for those wrestling fans or maybe those state fans who are listening that don't know this, is that every single wrestler last year who won a national championship in their weight class returned this year. So basically, everybody who won a national championship from the NCAA level has returned to their schools again this year. So it really just talks about how competitive and how exciting, and not only just NC State wrestling but college wrestling is this year, and how competitive it is. So make
yeah.
sure to keep that in mind. But yeah, so 125. So you have three guys in Camacho, who's a redshirt sophomore, James Joplin, who's I think a COVID freshman, and then Poland. Oh God, what was his first name? I'm sorry, I'm blanking on him, but yeah, I think it's Steve Poland, if I'm not mistaken.
Steve-O,
Steve O
yeah,
Poland, yeah.
yeah,
He
man.
so for those who again haven't seen Poland's story, so if you just look up, if you go to YouTube and just put in Steve O Poland, which last name Poulin, you'll see a video from that was spread throughout the country, of when he was a little kid, and he was just dominating kids, having this mohawk, and he was just absolutely unreal. Like it just like just watching that video just screams to me that this guy, he didn't train, he didn't necessarily he didn't get that way just from training. He got that way because he was born with that ability. I mean, he was just born to be a wrestler. There's no doubt about it. So
The it factor. The
yeah,
it factor. You
yeah,
got it or you don't. He's
yeah.
got it.
He's got it. Again, I mean, it's because again, I mean, so you got three guys that are underclassmen that, and all of them could easily go to pretty much any single school and start at the
Yeah.
125 weight class easily. Like not even a
Yep.
question in my mind about it. And you got three of them competing, for the 125. So, and because I mean, again, for those who don't know, 125, in my opinion, is one of the most exciting matches to watch because it's the lightest, so they're the quickest, they're the fastest. It's exciting to watch, and it's that's another one as well that I think that it's not necessarily a really tough decision because at the end of the day, Camacho is your most experienced guy. He's 6-0 on the season, so he's going to be the starter. There's no questions about it. But I mean, if Camacho, he like, let's put it this way, Camacho, he's got to keep his game up, because then there are two guys right
Yeah.
behind him that could easily jump in for 125 and win AC title this year. I truly do believe that if there's a way to have three people win an AC championship in one class, all three of them could be the winners. Simple as that. In my
Yeah.
opinion, I would say I could argue maybe they're the three best 125 wrestlers, in the ACC. I could make that argument for sure. So it's
Yeah.
an exciting thing. I love the 125 weight class this year.
Yeah. You're right.
Yeah.
And it's just part of what coaches bring it in. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, the fact the recruiting is so important, and like you said, for them to commit to state
Yep.
over, you take your pick. Like you said, they could be starting for. I'm just going to pick up some teams: Campbell and Lenore
Mhm.
Ryan, Gardner Webb. All they
I'm
could
sure
probably
Virginia Tech. I'm
start
sure
this year,
Virginia
but
Tech would love to have them. I'm sure Virginia Tech would love to have them.
that kid in Virginia Tech, that what's his name? I can't believe it just escaped me.
Yeah,
125.
I'll look it up.
Him and Jacob have that rivalry.
Hmm.
Uh,
I'll look it
anybody
up
can
while you
think of
talk.
it. Shoot, yeah.
I'll look it up.
So, but yeah, you're right. They could have the fact that they chose state and they believe in what Coach Pop is doing because you know a lot of people want microwave. I think Coach Dorn said everybody wants microwave results, but that ain't how it works when you build a program.
Hmm.
It just can't. It don't happen. You got to give it
Yeah,
time. And he was right. He said that about 4 years ago. And now look at our football team.
yeah,
You know, and so same thing with wrestling. You can't just snap your fingers and say, okay, we're gonna win that championship.
yep,
It's a work in progress,
yeah,
and the work. I mean, it just keeps better and better each year. I could not wait to get my season tickets because
yeah.
I mean, not only is it very affordable, but you're getting the best.
Yeah,
I keep going back to that, but
yeah,
I
and
just hope we can back our coach, back our team. It means so much to these kids who are busting their rear ends
yep,
to make the best they can be. And for that right there, NC State, you know, that's who they're doing it for. And
yep,
so uh, nothing but good things ahead. And we need to be out there supporting them best we can, especially when they're at home, right in our backyard. We can come down and see them. It
yep.
won't be a bad. It will not be anything you regret. I'm telling you.
No,
So I'm going to
definitely
keep on
not.
preaching that on Twitter. I'm going to keep on talking about it because if people don't
Absolutely.
know, they don't know. You got to
Yeah.
put it out there. So
Well, when I even saw like Steve Williams from IPS or Ryan Williams even saying like he even commenting Chuck being like, yeah, we need to be there, and me saying, yeah, I'm definitely going to be there. I'm not going to miss it, and I know my family's going to come with me too.
yeah,
They're not going to miss it. So yeah, definitely make sure and actually Ted actually said it as soon as I actually had looked it up, but it's Sam Latona from Virginia Tech, so the 125
Latona.
wrestler
Thank you, Ted.
Sam Latona.
Yeah, they've got
Yeah.
that. They got that little rivalry. So that's going to be another lights out match on 21st of January.
Yeah. So once again, one last question that I want to ask before we kind of roll off here, and because I know we've kind of talked a little bit about him, but I truly do believe that we kind of need to talk about him a little bit more in the spotlight, and that's Tariq Wilson, a guy
Oh,
that, in my opinion, there was times, especially earlier, where it was really frustrating. I was really just because he's so like there's no doubt he's talented, but yet there was just these times where he would just lose these matches where it's like, why'd you lose that match? Like, how could you lose that match? And then, but I mean, literally starting from last season, I would say, he was dominant. I mean, he was absolutely dominant last year, and I truly do believe he wasn't screwed over in the NCAA tournament. And yeah, I mean, his shoulders weren't on the ground. Okay, like Mike Machiavello's told me that. Coach Hall has told me that
yep,
his shoulders are not on the ground. So, but I truly believe he's coming for vengeance this year. I truly think he's a man on the
yeah,
mission this year.
yep.
Yeah.
Same thing for Trent Hodley. The Penn State guy, he grabbed the mat. That's illegal.
Yep.
And they
That's
let him
right.
go. So
That's right.
anyway, don't get me
Yep.
started
That's
on
right.
that. I'll be here about 15 minutes. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, Tariq freaking Wilson.
Tariq
He is
freaking
something else.
Wilson.
He's got I tell you, and he's one you can watch him. He puts his wrist on his knee, and he'll feel you out, and he'll look at you, and you watch him. It's almost like, why does he look so relaxed? Oh, he's not relaxed. He's ready to strike. He's like a snake, man. He's
Mm-hmm.
ready to strike, and as soon as you give him that opportunity, you're gonna be down. And
Yep.
he is on a mission. I'm telling you what. Uh, he moved up from 141, so he'll be, I mean, on fire like there is no other. Right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's just going to be once again. Every time we talk about a weight class, I get excited. We talk about
I
Ed
know.
Scott and his improvements, I get excited. We talk about the Hodleys, enough said. Now we're on
Mm-hmm.
Tariq Wilson. Oh my goodness, man! I cannot wait.
I
I
know.
cannot wait.
I
And I do
know.
believe what you said is true. I think he's on a mission, and he's not going to be. I mean, heck or high water, man. He is going to go, and I believe it's his year. I really
Yeah.
do.
I I I believe this year he's going to get done. So again, but thank you so much, again, Chuck, for joining us today. Again, I
Yeah,
mean, there's no doubt that the not only this season but the future of NC State wrestling is so bright. And again, I
yeah,
just really plead to anybody listening, anybody watching, that to make sure to be there January 21st, 7 p.m. When State takes on Virginia Tech. It's going to be a huge match. It's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be every single weight class is going to be a competition of two of the best wrestlers in their weight
yes,
class. So I mean, it's going to be super competitive, super fun to watch. But also to make sure as well to tune in with us Monday night at 7:30. We're going to be doing our weekly live stream where we're going to talk a little bit about all things NC State, but we're going to bring on Macon and Michael back on with us to even start talking a little bit more about the bowl game against UCLA. So make sure to tune in with us 7:30 here on our YouTube channel. Make sure also too to hit that subscribe button as well, so you actually are notified
yeah,
whenever we release new content. Also, whenever we go live, you'll actually be notified. Just to help you remind yourself as well. Again, it's also free to do, so just keep that in mind and give us obviously a follow at Tuffy Talk now on Twitter or Instagram. But also too, Chuck, I would also say to go if for anybody who's listening that does not follow Chuck, I mean, he's definitely a guy that I know would just like I would hope myself I could put myself in that boat, but loves NC State through in and throughout. A guy that just bleeds positivity about NC State. So make sure to go look up Chuck. I think it's at Max MAXX Coates on Twitter, and again, give him a follow. So he's going to keep on hyping up NC State wrestling, all you name it. So, but yeah,
yeah.
thank you, Justin and Ted, for and everybody else for tuning in. And again, we look forward to seeing everybody here. But hey, see you guys on Monday. But if we don't see you on
I've got
Monday,
two thank you.
Merry Christmas. Go for it, Chuck.
I've got two quick thank yous. I want to thank number one. Thank you for everybody bearing with me on my technical issues. My wife came to the rescue. We got through it. Thanks for hanging out with us an
Shout out
extra
to the
20
wife.
minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And number two, thank you for doing what you do for NC State. I appreciate the effort. We've talked on a couple of occasions, baseball setting, basketball setting, but thank you
Mm-hmm.
for doing what you do and keeping our name out there and just the fact that this is a great thing you're doing, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for those kind words. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, again, hey, we always say every single day is a great day to be an NC State fan, and that's forever going to be
That's it.
be the case. So, but also
Win
too
or
for those
lose, do or
listening,
die.
and also for those listening as well that haven't checked out our interview with Debbie Al, go check that out right now. It is a must watch. You want to
Yeah.
watch every single minute of it. Okay, so but thank you all so much again for tuning in. Again, if we don't see you on Monday, have a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and as always,